Hey, what's up, guys? Kane here with the XBLA fans. I'm going to be giving you a quick taste of Actung Cthulhu Tactics. Now, in this game, you're going to play an XCOM kind of style of game where you're basically going to be fighting the Nazis who have kind of teamed up with the immortal evil himself. And it's a turn-based tactical strategy game based on a board game, actually. So it's the award-winning Actung Cthulhu universe. Now, you may not be familiar with that, but what you end up with is you have this two groups, basically. You've got the English and you've got the Americans, and they've each got their kind of like special forces. I just did air quotes, and I have no idea why, because nobody can see that nonsense. But what I mean by that is these are like their mythological kind of, people. These are the ones you send into fights against, unknown horrors. And, you've got this universe that's a little different than what you would think of with, standard Nazis. You're going to see, a little bit more pulling into the Lovecraftian thing. It's a weird World War II universe. It's not exactly what you're used to. So you got mythos-inspired enemies, and there's a lot of things going on with, light versus dark. There's a good bit of like this kind of horror system that's going to, affect your troops as you fight. And there's a lot of different things that are going to be going on. Now, when I was showing you guys there, you could see some of the upgrades that you were going to be able to do. So the way it works is you're able to upgrade each character. You can change their weapons around. But they each are basically already classed out into a specific class. I'm jumping right back in just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. They have that kind of little circle where as you move out, they cost a little bit more each time, but you also seem to have the circle, below it to keep moving. At least that's what it appeared to be to me. It may be one of those things where I just didn't have enough skill points, because if you just notice, it didn't light up anything, because I only had the one skill point, and it was going to take, I think, 3 to level up the next circle. So, something like that. I'm about 4 levels in. So that's why I'm not 100% sure on that, actually. But what I've played so far has been pretty fun. This game is from Ripstone. It's $24.99. For those of you who care about size on your console, 3.1 gigabytes. I just happen to know that off the top of my head, so figured I'd share. Kind of a random thing. But like I said, light and dark is a huge thing in this one. Vision cone is a huge concept. You're going to have to kind of, move around and kind of get vision on the enemies you're fighting. So far, all the levels I've seen in this have been very similar to this. They're not exactly the most engaging by any means. Because, I'll be honest, the problem is I'm always going to compare something like this to myself, to something like XCOM. Because I sit back and I, look at this and I go, okay, XCOM has a lot more verticality. XCOM has a lot more, kind of open area. This is very much a corridor. So, you're fighting in a much smaller area. It's a little harder to kind of visually see things, because no matter what angle you give yourself, and you can get 4 different angles, you just have weird views, and it's just kind of awkward. So, this is an issue I've run into a couple times. Obviously, not every fight is in this closed off of an area. Sometimes they're a little more open. Sometimes you're fighting, a little bit more of a monster versus just, kind of these troops. This right here is one of the more interesting guns I have. I've done all the side missions, so each side mission you do, you continue to get more loot and levels and all that. So, my guys are pretty strong. They each have kind of, scopes on them at this point, which has really helped with, long, medium, and short combat. So there's a lot of different gameplay systems that are actually involved here. And you're going to have to keep track of, psychological damage beyond just physical damage as well. When one of your guys goes down, you might end up having one of your other units just panic and, start throwing random grenades, using up all his action points and all his grenades. It's not frustrating in the least bit to have that happen. I'm not bitter. I'm not. But, the way you can do this is you can, kind of level up your characters and make them a little more unique based on how you like to play. That's something I've been enjoying so far. It's not one of those games, where you can kind of customize your units to, a crazy extent. And that's a little bit of a bummer, because I know for me, like, one of my favorite parts about playing something like XCOM, I'm sorry to use that again. I'm probably driving somebody insane who's watching this video, and he's like, can you just stop saying that word? Because, I mean, there are other games that do this, and this is probably more similar to some of them. But to me, you know, that kind of tactic strategy thing, you know, with straight up die rolling on shooting. Like, dude, the amount of times I've missed a 97 shot, you know, it's just like, come on, 97%. It's not possible. But anyways, back to what I was actually talking about. It's just a fun game for the most part, but you don't have that level of customization. You know, these are 4 actual units, you know, that actually have names. You've got Eric Badger Harris. That's an actual character in this game and in this universe. So it's not like I can just name him, you know, Chris Furry Donger, you know, or something stupid if I wanted to, which would have been great. But that's just kind of how it is. But at the same time, one of the cool things about that is you actually have these people who are unique, have unique abilities, and it's not just, you know, recruit. You know, you're not starting the game off with complete blank slates, but that's both good and bad because you already have kind of these different classes. You got this one guy right here that I'm using who's got mostly a shotgun. You'll kind of notice what I mean by, like, sometimes it's a little funky. Like, my shotgun, you know, from close range you would think would hit pretty easily, but very rarely. Instead, I end up walking up and stabbing people a lot more with him. He's kind of my my grunt that I send to the front line. I use him, and I use the girl with the pistol. She's my favorite character in the entire game. She is, like, I don't know, whatever her name is, I just want to change it to Lieutenant Badass. Because, like, literally, I have had her kill, like, an entire army just off her one turn. And the way this game works is you have action points and you have momentum. Action points are going to be taken every time you move. If you want to move a little bit further than you normally could, I think that would take up a momentum thing. You're going to get momentum when you kill units. You're going to get momentum at the beginning of every turn. And you're going to get momentum when you crit, I believe. So you can get different things that you can get it used for. Overwatch will take momentum. You know, firing with your secondary takes momentum. Using your special ability takes momentum. So you can kind of let it, you know, up there, you know, just kind of add each turn, and you could theoretically use it all at one time. Probably take out everybody, you know, pretty quickly. But I mean, that would take a little bit of waiting. I'm normally pretty greedy. If I have momentum, I'm using it that turn. We've got 4 distinctly different unit weapons at the moment. And some of the characters have choices at the moment, just really early on already, where they could, you know, change what they're running. Like the girl I'm running with the pistol, she could run with a shotgun if you really wanted to. And some of her special abilities are going to allow you to use both that shotgun or that pistol, you know, and they change a little bit based on what you're using. Overwatch is just really funky because, like, half the time what ends up happening, and I'll show you on my turn actually what I'm talking about, is you end up in this situation where you really can't do anything useful with it. And other times you got this where it's like, I don't know how I can see him in the least bit, but I still hit him. You know, other times someone will run at you, but it's going to shoot at the first guy who moves, no matter how far away he is, no matter how unlikely it's going to hit. And, you know, it's really easy to kind of game the system. So, you know, like, there's an enemy on Overwatch on me. I'm just going to move my furthest unit that could possibly trigger it. And that's going to cause him to fire at me. And odds of him hitting me seem to be basically 0. You know, so there's basically no chance I'm going to have to worry about it anyway. This is one of my favorite moves that I even have right now. This guy runs up and just goes stabby stab on a guy. And, like, it pretty much can kill an entire unit. Like, this isn't even the best example of me just triggering Overwatch, because in the past, I've literally moved a character behind cover to the other spot on cover, you know, like, literally, like, one to the next, you know, one tile over, and it will just trigger it, and they've never left, you know, this giant boulder that there's no way they can get hit behind. And that, to me, is just kind of, like, a little bit of a bummer how ineffective it is for how much it actually costs you. Because that's just it. Like, when it comes down to it, you actually have to spend, you know, those momentum points to put yourself into Overwatch, and it doesn't really feel as effective as it has in other similar games. Now, when you do finish a combat thing, you're going to be able to like regroup and wander around the level. To be honest, there is not much point to this other than just to wander from point A to point B to get to a new area to fight. I was kind of hoping to find more loot or something. I don't even know. More anything. You know, because really what's going to happen is we're just going to keep wandering. Walking into, you know, dead ends because we can't really tell until we get too close. And then all of a sudden we're going to have to turn right back around. And then we're just really just waiting till, you know, the next combat system triggers. This is a side mission. I intentionally didn't pick a story mission, because the story missions have had a little bit that's going on with them. And you're starting to see some more horror-based things, you know, being stuck into the game on those. So this is definitely a side mission. There's not as much going on. It's a little more basic. But at the same time, I didn't want to stick anything too spoilery because I wasn't sure what we'd be getting here. But some of the things that this game does do well, I really do like the vision cones. I really do like a few of the other aspects. And it's kind of cool. The momentum system kind of seems to work pretty well, actually, with balancing a lot of this. As a whole, though, I don't really think I've had too many issues where I've actually felt like I put myself at risk. Typically, I don't really lose any units, and it hasn't really felt like much pressure. Then again, I am also playing on normal. I did not bump this up to like super hard, so there are 4 difficulties. For someone who's, you know, more experienced in this universe, you could probably bump it up right away, because it does not exactly seem to be the most difficult of these kind of tactics games. Part of it might be I'm playing pretty conservatively. Like, this level took me about 30 minutes to beat, largely because I kind of sit back and make sure I don't put people at risk. That's just a trick I've learned from the amount of times I've streamed XCOM and my entire chat got anally probed. And that's not something anybody wants, especially not against giant tentacle monsters. So we're going to have to, you know, avoid all that nonsense. There's going to be someone somewhere who's rolling their eyes this entire video, and I just apologize. But you get to see some cool different unspeakable evils and, you know, some different things from that, you know, Lovecraftian universe. So there's some cool things that you do get introduced to in this game. A lot of it is a little just funky to me at times, because, like, this is a good fight, for an example. Again, we're stuck in another small corridor, and it just feels a little awkward at times. A lot of times you're going to end up running out of the ability to really, you know, move and fire. You're better off a lot of times just keeping a guy behind cover, getting him an angle, using someone else to get vision, and kind of just surviving. But like, this just feels so weird that the enemies also have that issue. So they'll just walk up point blank to me, you know, like he's sitting between 2 of my guys now, and he's just gonna end up dying. It just feels really awkward the way a lot of this goes. This is one thing that bugs me a ton. You're gonna see in a second. My shotgun unit looks like he has a clean shot on that guy behind him. There's no reason it seems like that should not work. The guy is behind cover, but there is perfect line of sight. There's no cover blocking him. You got to look at that and you got to think back, okay, he should be able to hit him cleanly. One thing that's kind of nice is you can change the order that you do anything. So, you know, like, maybe you want to, you know, use one of your units to get the vision just so the guy in the back can take the shots, because the vision is huge. You get some cool different items and abilities and different weapon mods and stuff. So, like, I can throw flares now if I want to get vision on units from pretty far away. And that'll allow me to kind of snipe them in a sense. But here's what I'm talking about. So this guy, you know, you would think would have a higher percentage of shooting the guy behind him. But he really doesn't. The only guy he can hit cleanly is the guy who's just standing in the middle of a field. And it feels kind of weird because it doesn't feel like I'm currently blocked. Because, you know, I'm using a shotgun. I'm going to poke my head out and shotgun the guy. The shotgun is literally inside his belly button. The amount of times I have been point blank on someone with a shotgun or pistol, only to have it tell me that I do not have any ability to hit the guy, is just a little funky to me. So, like, every once in a while I've been hitting those kind of moments where it's just like common sense logic says that this die roll should be a lot higher. but there's some kind of gaming system thing going on where it's just not letting it work like that. And that's just kind of strange to me. I am curious to play a little bit more of this. I'm curious to see a little bit more of the story as a whole. Like I said, it's been a pretty enjoyable experience. It's definitely not, you know, anything that's going to kind of blow you away in a sense. But if you like this style of gameplay, I think it's definitely something that's worth your money and you'll probably enjoy. I'm looking forward to trying more of it. I played 3 hours on stream last night. I enjoyed pretty much all of that. It's definitely a pretty cool experience, and there's a lot going on with this one. But thank you guys so much for hanging out and checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have any questions about this game, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer anything I can in the comments. Please do check out our other quick tastes and other gameplay videos and such. We do these for pretty much every single Xbox game that we can. We love to highlight new indie games. We love to highlight stuff that a lot of people aren't necessarily playing and give you guys a good chance to get a good look at those. So thank you guys so much, and later.